Hey there, it's Bill Hawthorn. In today's video, I'm going to explain to you in detail how you don't need a realtor license to make huge money legally. So here's what I want to do. I did a seminar a few months back, and I explained this while using my whiteboard with the numbers. So I'm going to show you that video, that clip of the video. I'm going to show you the math, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk you through it so you completely understand this strategy and why it's so powerful in real estate. Because we take this one strategy and we hook pieces and parts to it to make it do certain things. And I'll explain all that when we're done with the math. Okay, so let's check that clip out first, and then I'll come back and we'll talk our way through it, okay? So here we go. Here's that clip. It's called an option. Okay? So this is the most obvious thing that people don't pay attention to. Okay? Make sure he got in. Okay, good. And I'm going to explain this. It takes a couple minutes, but I'm going to explain it. So what happens is if you had, say, in the stock market, a stock called Apple, and that stock costs $400 per share to buy, okay? And you don't have $400. You don't want to spend that money. What happens is in the stock market, you can buy an option. So instead of buying the share for $400, you can buy the right to sell that share, the right to sell this share for $10. Okay, so if you paid $400, right, with the option of $10, okay, and this stock goes up to say $450, you paid $10 to have the right to sell that stock and at $400, but the stock went up to $450. So because you have this option, you can sell this stock at $450 and make $50. Minus your $10 for the fee means you made $40. You didn't have to pay $400 to buy and sell that stock. If this stock goes down to say $375, you don't have to buy the share for $375. You just lose your $10. So the only thing you're risking here is the $10. So if you bought an option for $400 and tomorrow the price went up to $450, you make $40. If you bought the option, the rights to this option for $10 and it went down to $375, you don't have to buy that option. You just lose your right to sell for $10. Or you wait till the next day and hope it goes back up again. Okay, so that's an option. It's the right to buy. Okay, right to buy. Horrible writing. Right to buy. Okay, so all you're doing is buying the rights to control this. Okay, so here's the interesting thing, is in real estate, if you got a $200,000 house, what I do is I buy the rights for $100. Now, the law says you need to use consideration. You have to procure the deal with consideration. Consideration means paper money. See, United States government, the Constitution says that we can't print paper money. That's a whole nother story. So you could use $1 to buy this. Some people use, like Pete uses $10. But I use $100. I feel like it's more professional. So I'm buying the rights to sell this property for $200,000. For $100, I have the right to buy or sell this property. And if I promise the customer $200,000, any price above that. If for some reason you bring this house to the market and it's not worth $200,000, all you're jeopardizing is your $100 or your $10 or your $1. If you bring this house to the market and you sell it for $220,000, you make $20,000. Okay, so I think you got the gist there. I cut the clip a little bit short. Sorry about that, but here's what I want to talk to you about. When you sign an option agreement with someone, and it's usually one page, sometimes two, depending on what state you're in, it's a very short agreement. The seller agrees up front on how much you're going to give them. They also agree on the duration, how much time they're going to give you to sell. It's common that if we're going to use just an option agreement, we would do 90 days. The realtors usually ask 6 months. So we're doing it in 3 months. But here's the most important part. When we give them the $1 or the $10 or the $100, we're actually getting an equity share in the property. Okay, so what that means is it's a very minute equity share. It's not a controlling equity share, but it is an equity share. The way the law reads is it doesn't have to be any amount of equity. As long as it's an equity share, it's considered that we are part owners. So now when we sell this property with the option agreement, we don't need a license because we have an equity share or we're part owners in this property. Again, albeit it's a very small portion and we can't hurt the owner in any way. We can't do anything to the deed or do anything like that. This is 1000% legal. And believe it or not, as I alluded to in other videos, this has been going on for thousands of years. This has been going on before the Realtor came on board. As I said in other videos, the Realtor came on board in October 1949 with their national association because a code of ethics was written in September of 1949, because between 1910 or 1908, when the first Realtor showed up on board, until 1949, realtors were considered charlatans, which are snake oil salesmen. They weren't trustworthy people, or the trade was not trustworthy. It's not so much the people. So they developed this National Realtors Association in 1949 to implement the Code of Ethics. And here we are today. Obviously it worked because now, realtors are part of our life. Now, again, I'm not bashing any realtors. It's just their system. Their system works for specific types of people. Unfortunately, what's happened is it's kind of a monopoly, because when you go to sell a house nowadays, you only have two choices. You can choose a realtor or you can sell it on your own. Unless you know one of us, then you have a third choice. And the reason why the options are so magnificent is because we can actually, by law and legally, sign this option agreement with our seller, put all the agreements that we have down on paper so that everybody knows how this option is going to be used, and then we go sell the property. For example, if I have an option agreement with someone for, we'll say $200,000, like in my example, and I go sell the property for $220,000, I'm going to write a purchase and sales contract from me to my new buyer. And when I write that purchase and sales contract and I submit it to the closing agent or attorney, depending on what type of estate you're in, I'm going to attach my option agreement to the purchase and sales agreement so they know right up front that I'm not the owner. So when they go do a title search, I'm not anywhere to be found. I just had this option agreement with the seller, and we're going to do the transaction. Now, I do have some friends that are nervous about losing a deal, so you can file what they call a memorandum when you actually get an option with someone and you feel like they might sell out from underneath you. If you put a memorandum on, file it on the deed, you can have a good chance of, if they sell it out from underneath you, the memorandum is going to show up in the closing that they're trying to do without you, and you could cloud the title is what they call it, and you can get paid that way. I personally don't do any of that. If somebody's going to be skullduggery or dishonest, I just karma will get them, and that's my take on it. I don't do that. It didn't really cost me anything other than my advertising, and with the internet, that's a lot less money than it used to be. It used to be we had to do everything with direct mail and all that kind of stuff. But nowadays it's not like that. So it's a lot easier to get your buyers. Plus, when you start selling houses like I do, you start building a buyer's list, which is not hard to do. We'll go over that. You build a buyer's list, and when you start getting a few hundred people, 200, 300, 500 people, 1,000 people on a buyer's list, which by the way you can do in a couple of houses in today's environment. So it's not hard to get a buyer's list. So I don't worry about all that stuff. The point that I'm making here today is the legality of signing an option with someone is crucial to your career, because these options, we can attach them to leases. So when we're buying a property, we can control it, not even purchase it. We can lease a property when we're acquiring it, and we can attach an option to it. And these options can go out sometimes 10, 15, 20 years. There is no time period that is good or bad. So if your seller is willing to rent to you for 10 years with an option to purchase, you're golden, right? You can also assign these options. So like a lot of times we'll get an option agreement with someone, say for 2 years, the seller will be willing to rent to us for 2 years. And then we go find a buyer that's willing to take the obligations that we promised our seller and actually live in the house and take care of the maintenance and the repairs, and we just assign the option to them for a fee, which I'm going to go over that in one of our next videos. I'm going to show you how we do that. That's called a sandwich lease option transfer, and we're going to go over all that. So options are very important because I'm going to show you 2 or 3 ways where we can buy properties and make a fee like a realtor. We can rent properties and wholesale or sell those documents to somebody else. We can rent to own ourselves and stay in the contract, or even if we buy like an owner finance deal or something where we get some financing and we can sell on a lease option. So there's a lot of ways to use options. And it's nothing to worry about, because over the next couple days, if you're on this email list that I'm making these videos for, if you're not, then just there's a link around this video somewhere where you can get on that list, and I'll explain all these strategies to you over the next several days with these videos in your email. Okay? So I kind of went a little long-winded there, but I think you got the gist of it, and I hope it makes total sense that you can actually control or purchase properties using a 1 or 2 page option agreement with $1, $10, $100, whatever denomination you want to use. You have the right to do that, and you can do that starting today. Okay? I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure if you're not already on my email course on how to get all these videos, you click on the link below. If you are, you have nothing to click on. You're all set. Just hang tight and you'll get another video tomorrow. All right, over and out. Thanks for your attention.